They say you can't keep a good amp down, and that's the way I lean. Today we're going to be focusing on a late 70s Fender Champ. I think this is a 1978, if I'm not mistaken. Maybe a 79. In any case, this thing is plagued with a host of little issues. A conflagration of grief that have led it to be here on the bench today. And we're going to get into it and discuss. Well, we're not going to discuss anything. We're going to watch a few little things here from the service, some little clips and highlights, and then we're going to listen to it. The amp, that is. You're not going to listen to me. So don't forget to like, subscribe, share, do the whole thing. Hype it if you got to. I don't know what the hell that does. It does something. And again, I just thank you for tuning in. Thanks for being along on this little journey of ours. You guys are stakeholders. Take care. Stakeholders. All right, guys. Gene, you in particular. Oh, mean Gene. Now, you younger guys out there will not know the reference. But if you're from my generation, you will. Gene, it was so cool to meet you today, and I'm sorry. Literally, this was a drive-by amp pickup off-site. And Gene was so kind and patient in coordinating with me. So, before I plug it in, let me get a chopstick. Do I even have any more chopsticks? Oh, I can't find my nice ones, but this will do. So, you're missing a chassis strap up here. Just one. It looks like the chassis is kind of sitting down on the speaker baffle, so it's not really, yeah. It's a little loose in there, and I did find a nut down there for one of these bolts, for one of the machine screws, rather. You're missing the little dress washer that this pilot lamp would rest on top of. You could see like a little bit of a ghost ring there. That's okay. Who cares? These are great old amps. And also just a little bit of hardware off of that input jack. I have all that stuff, dude. Don't worry about it. But you were telling me that when you turn it on, there was an aroma and a sizzling sound. And usually what that indicates is the electrolyte inside of the cap can is probably boiling. And then what happens is there's an eruption out of that vent, and I'll open this up. It may not be the case. Who knows? But let's just see what's going on. Let me flip her around. Right, so current limited circuit. And what I normally do is just throw the bulb on, and I'll do that. But just I'm going to focus on, obviously, the power tubes here. So just keep an eye there. I'll try to frame it up a little bit nicer. And what are we looking for? We're looking for any sort of sparks in either one of these guys. This looks like yeah, it's pretty modern EH6V6. These are great tubes. And I certainly have some spares if this one decides to take a dump on us. And you were saying you just replaced this 5Y3. And you were getting sizzling without... This is the original fuse. Without this fuse blowing. Can I even focus on that? A little bit. There we go. You're getting some sizzling without that thing blowing, which is a great sign. So I would make an assumption that the tubes are good, or at least they haven't catastrophically failed yet, and that maybe the preamp supply is shorting inside of there, one of the lower voltage circuits. That's off the power rail. That's just an assumption. Let's just stop making assumptions and see if we can we'll lower this down, and then we'll wind it up to working voltage. I do have the bulb on. I do have the current limiter and circuit. So, and what am I talking about? I'm talking about this guy up here. It's a little sideways. But you can see next to the dude with the flying V, there's a... Where's my finger at? Right here, there's that little bulb. And that will indicate whether or not we have a condition. And that's what we're going to look out for. So we have power on. We're at 30 volts. I'm going to wind it up. I'm already getting a short on the filaments. So you certainly have a shorted section of the cap. The kind of filament glow that I'm seeing here would be in line with what I would typically see with a 100-watt amp that's sitting at idle. This particular amp, however, this is with 70 wall volts. Now, if I turn the power on, wow, I'm losing 40 volts from my power supply. So there's no wonder. And the tubes aren't even lighting up yet. So let's remove the tubes just for curiosity's sake. And we want to hope and pray. We want to hope and pray. This Sovtech 5Y3 is very mechanically noisy. Hopefully it didn't get too beat up. So I'm even going to pull the little preamp tube. And let's see if we're going to get any sort of short with nothing installed into any of the tube sockets. So I'll go ahead and kick her back on. And yeah, we still have a short. I'll bring up to full power really briefly. So keep an eye on that light. Let me get it up there. A little bit more. Keep an eye up there. And wow. So we went from 115 volts all the way down to 80. All right, let me get you in there, Gene. So, simple amps. There's one other possibility that I didn't bring up. And it's a long shot, but I gotta test it because I've been getting this. I got 2 amps with blown output transformers in this past month rather. And I need to make sure that that's not exactly happening again. Oh, look at this. This resistor is completely cracked in half. Wow. So that could be the source of the sizzles, my friend, no doubt. That would be from your screen, your plate supply. That's one of your decoupling resistors that's going over to the screens. So the sizzling sound you were hearing and the smell could be from the spark gap that's now present in the middle of this resistor here. That was a 1K resistor, I think. And then, yeah, we got 1K and 10K. I just did a short test on your cap can. It's not in good shape, but it's not exactly shorting yet. But there is a decent amount of ripple there. So we'll go ahead and change that. It's time. And then I'll do the little trick where I put the 8 lug terminal strip in these factory holes here. And then we'll run your 3 new caps there. And I'll replace these 2 guys because they're stressed. So let me take this guy out of circuit and then see if we still have a short. And I'm also going to run a little battery of tests on the output transformer as well, just to see if it's been damaged. So if you want to, let's just, I can't really do this on camera because this thing's in my way. Maybe I can rotate you over the top like that. It's not a beautiful angle, but maybe it doesn't need to be, right? It doesn't need to be a beautiful angle. Let's get some light on there. Okay. I'll zoom in. Look at it. So watch this. It wasn't even connected at all. Look at that. But there was a sufficient amount of contact. Wow, look how charred it is. There was sufficient contact for there to be some transmission. Look at that. Looks like an old cigar, huh? That's the sizzling and the smell. Some of that sizzling could have been this wax that's on the board. But it's it kind of makes me feel better that maybe your tubes haven't been impacted. Right? So let's get this guy out of there, and then we'll see what's up. All right, bye. And we're back. And I'm going to try a new technique. Or I'm going to modify my existing technique. And I'm going to try something. That I normally don't do, because there's a lot of value left for me in having this line filter cap there. And since it's the proper Y2 class cap, I'm going to leave it there. Nothing scrubs the RF out. Nothing does it. Like the old death cap does. Of course, it's not a death cap anymore. Not anymore. That's going to do it for us. We got another piece of hardware. I'll be right back. All right, there we go. That's a thing of beauty. So what I'm going to do is I'm physically going to pull these 3 terminals out because we want a clean look. I mean, aesthetics do matter. And I'm going to evacuate all these eyelets here so we can get a clean, fresh start with some nice high-quality components and some nice fresh solder. So stand by. All right, now I just need to clip off the little ends there, and then we'll be in business. All right, so this will serve you well, my friend. And I'm going to go ahead and change your electrolytics there on board. And we'll see what these guys are up to. And we could probably lose this guy now once we get the wiring straightened out. But we'll see. See if she's stable. And yeah, you can tell I removed the majority of the wax there from the side of the board. And you can see how deep it is here. And you can see that this wire was probably disturbed at some point in its life. So, what is that? McMain. Oh, Dom. Good job, bub. It's really hard to get a clean shot, but above my finger there's a nice and shiny, it looks brown from here, solder joint that is actually the ground for this new filter pack here. So we're not just relying on that screw right there, and we're not going to create some sort of a ground loop on the other side. Though I may move this little trunk of cables here to this side of things. Okay, so it looks like I did a little more than I planned on. So we have the proper bias resistor, some new electrolytics there. I cleaned up the wax where it mattered the most. I shortened up this little wire loom here, and then I ran it. I think we're good to remove this, but we'll see. If it's not too brittle sounding right now, maybe we can take that off. We'll see. But I'm pretty much done with the interior. I do need to do the pots and the jacks, the tube sockets, obviously. And then I'm going to want to replace this missing hardware and just give it a nice clean overall. These are just really nice little amps, and it deserves to be happy. All right, these tube sockets are clean now. You probably can't even tell how shiny they are. But what they're not is tension. There's a lot of space left there, and these things are loose. So let's tighten them up. Then we can move on to the faceplate. All right, now we're getting into the nitty-gritty stuff. And then here's the top. Here's the sort of a 3/4 angle view there from the other side. Came out really nice. Came out really nice. We'll see. But let's get this stuff knocked out. I'm going to remove this hardware and see if I can give her a little shining. Well, there we go. All nice and clean. That just never comes out right on a camera. Well, that's it. That's it for the chassis. I've got some work to do in the cabinet, and then that's it. And Jean, then she's all yours for recording purposes. Oh, and that just sounds so mean through the 412. But tomorrow I will give the cabinet a nice little scrub down, and then we'll rehouse this little guy, and then we'll do some more sound samples. That'll be fun. And then give us something to look forward to for tomorrow. So that's it for today. I hope you guys are well out there and all that good stuff. Bye.